As we are closing in on this year's special election, the majority of residents are not even aware that there is an election going on.
Plus, as we're getting ready for fire season, it was a busy day for first responders as multiple fires popped up across the Rogue Valley.
Live, local, late breaking. This is NewsWatch 12 this morning.
Good morning. The time is 6 o'clock on May 16th. Welcome to NewsWatch 12 this morning. I'm Carlos Marietta.
And I'm Brinkley Hill, and we're checking in with Storm Tracker 12 Chief Meteorologist Matt Hoffman for a look at our Friday.
Good morning. A mix of sun and clouds for today. Will be a dry day across southern Oregon and northern California. Mostly light winds, but we will see a breeze pick up this afternoon in most spots. Warmer temperatures for today. It's going to be much more seasonal. At the bus stop this morning, a bit chilly, mostly cloudy skies in the Rogue Valley, but this afternoon, look for a mix of sunshine and clouds. The big story, though, will be those warmer temperatures with readings in the 70s, up to 74 today for high in Medford, 75 in Grants Pass. We'll top out to around 74 degrees in Wairika, upper 60s in the Basin, and topping out around 62 degrees in Brookings. Taking a look, though, at those winds, a bit of a breeze this afternoon, but look what happens as we move into Saturday. Winds are going to crank up further, and a storm system will be moving on in. It's going to cool things down for us and also bring us some wet weather as we head into the weekend. We'll time out to the potential for showers and even some thunderstorms coming up in just a bit.
We are just 4 days away from the special district election where residents will have the chance to decide on hyperlocal measures and elected officials. But the majority of people are not voting. Voters are casting their ballots for local school, fire districts, and more during this special election. But this type of election sees some of the lowest voter turnout. Currently, just over 9% of eligible voters have voted, with an estimate of 18 to 20% voter turnout. That's a small number compared to the midterm elections, which sees about a 60 to 65% voter turnout, and the presidential election, which sees about a 75% voter turnout.
So many different people on this ballot, and it's really going to impact what happens here in Medford.
The folks who are in the library or the school boards, they're doing important work, and they're setting things that the rest of us live with.
It affects you immediately, especially local elections.
Jackson County Clerk Chris Walker says a lot of this has to do with candidates' lack of publicity. The League of Women Voters has been pushing for political involvement for local residents. To learn more about the measures and races in our community, you can head to kdrv.com.
Big old cloud of smoke in the back of my property, and walked over there and found out that it was a structure.
Neighbors off Sam's Valley Highway in White City called 911 after an RV caught on fire yesterday afternoon, which led to a loud explosion and thick smoke visible for miles. Jackson County Fire District 3 told NewsWatch 12 the flames started in the RV, then spread it to a nearby carport. The explosion was likely caused by a boiling liquid expanding vapor explosion involving a propane tank. Fire crews were able to contain the fire and no one was hurt. The exact cause of that fire is still under investigation.
Smoke filled a large commercial building during a fire in Medford yesterday morning. Chief Eric Thompson said the fire was in a 10 by 20 utility room filled with maintenance supplies. As smoke filled that entire facility, additional crews had to be called in for support. A total of 5 engines, 2 ladder trucks, and 6 support companies responded, about 40 personnel in all.
That we did indeed have a working fire. Our first priority was, okay, it's a large facility. We need to make sure that there wasn't any occupants in it. We did have one firefighter have some real mild heat exhaustion, but he was treated at the scene and he's released and back to work.
The fire was under control within 40 minutes. The building was empty during the time of that fire, and Medford Fire Department says the investigation remains ongoing. And the city of Medford is working to keep the community prepared for fire season as they hosted their second town hall of the year, giving residents a chance to ask about emergency preparedness. Wards 2 and 4 councilors and several city departments were there to answer any questions community members had. Topics included wildfire readiness, emergency alert, and open Q&A with city staff.
Being the people behind the scenes that really make this happen. I think that when, at least what I noticed from the previous one we did, is it gives our staff an opportunity to really show off their passion, if you will, for the community and protecting the community.
Mayor Zarazinski said these events are a key part of the council's goal to increase transparency and public engagement across all Medford neighborhoods.
More than 80 U.S. senators and representatives are demanding the reinstatement of FEMA's BRIC program, including Oregon U.S. Senators Jeff Merkley and Ron Wyden. BRIC stands for Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities. The bipartisan letter calls for Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem to take action. In it, lawmakers argue there's an urgent need to invest BRIC dollars into disaster mitigation and community resilience. They say research shows every dollar invested in disaster mitigation can save up to $18 in response and recovery costs.
The California Fish and Wildlife Game Commission is discussing potential recommendations for changes to regulations of coyotes. Ranchers often have to kill coyotes, threatening the landscape of human or livestock safety. The president of Siskiyou County Cattlemen's Association spoke about concerns for any restrictions.
A lot of ranchers out there that haven't had issues with lions, bears, or wolves, but every cattle rancher I know has had either livestock killed or harmed by coyote.
He was concerned for his livestock, but a Modoc County supervisor was concerned for sheep and goats used for fuel reduction projects across California. While the North American model of wildlife conservation says wildlife should be only killed for legitimate reasons, Siskiyou County Sheriff Jeremiah LaRue questioned why there's any need to change the regulations if coyotes are not endangered.
I want to kind of throw it out there in a big picture of if it's not broke, why fix it? And the people that are livestock producers in my community do an excellent job of being responsible and doing what is right and necessary to protect their livelihood. And so I don't see that there needs to be any type of change.
If regulations do develop, Sheriff LaRue is asking for transparency. The Game Commission said that right now there are no rules being adapted. This agenda item was purely for the commission to hear community inputs. And a new mapping tool just became available for California ranchers as part of Phase 2 of California's Wolf Conservation Plan. California Department of Fish and Wildlife created a map that shows the general area of wolf packs in the state. Right now, we're looking at the basic area where the whalebone pack is in Siskiyou County. I asked Nielsen from Siskiyou County Cattlemen's Association if mapping technology would be beneficial for California ranchers.
The stakeholder or rancher could go on and see, oh, I've got wolves that are at this end of my ranch. I better get down there and check my livestock. That is a very important tool. Now, if it's a very broad area where it could encompass tens of thousands of acres for a specific wolf, it's not going to be as beneficial.
Nelson said that Siskiyou County does get specific collar data from CDFW through a liaison. The map will have a broader range to protect the animals from poaching. CDFW also said that data might not be available during the year, especially around breeding season.
In developing news, Oregon State Police served multiple search warrants at West Coast Game Park Safari near Bandon following a lengthy criminal investigation. Police are looking into its animal care and welfare, permitting, licensing, and business practices. OSP is working with several local, state, and federal partners, including ODFW, Oregon Humane Society, Coos County Sheriff's Office, and the IRS for the investigation. The park now closed to the public, and they're being asked to avoid the facility.
New this morning, 3 people have been arrested following an assault at the Grants Pass 5th Street resting area. The Grants Pass Police Department says they were responding to a disturbance call between 4 men, but when police arrived, they found a 46-year-old male bleeding from his head and mouth. The victim says he was punched, hit with a baton, and pepper sprayed. After investigating, police have arrested 34-year-old Caleb Farmer, 36-year-old Jonathan Bull, and 37-year-old Aaron Storm. All 3 men were arrested for assault and multiple other charges. In an update this morning from the University of Oregon, the student workers have ratified their contract. After 10 days on the picket line and 11 months of failed negotiations, 95% of student union workers voted to ratify last week's tentative contract agreement. Student workers will now get annual pay increases, shift meals, performance evaluations, and more. This makes U of O student workers the first wall-to-wall union at a public university to have a contract.
Representatives with the University of Oregon say this agreement represents a meaningful milestone in our ongoing efforts to recognize the valuable contributions of student workers and to build a more inclusive and supportive work environment on campus. U of O says most aspects of this new contract will go into effect on June 1st, with new wage and classification structures beginning July 16th.
Klamath Falls geothermal system will be shut down for the summer beginning today. Crews will be inspecting and performing maintenance on the system, and they hope to have it completed by the end of September. Customers will need to utilize alternative heat sources until the fall.
U.S. Senator Ron Wyden has announced town halls in both Curry and Jackson County during Memorial Day weekend. On May 24th, Wyden and U.S. Representative Val Hoyle will be at Driftwood Elementary School in Port Orford at 6 a.m. Wyden will be in Medford the next day at the Medford Armory at 4 p.m.